Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of On the Mark, Straight Talk Across the Narrows. I am Troy Liburd, and I will be your host for this evening. And this evening, I'm joined in the studio by two top young people here on the island of Nevis. And in a few minutes, of course, I'll welcome in my guests who are going to be here with me tonight for 2 hours. I love being here on the Mark. There's quite a lot happening in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course on the Mark is a way that we share all of the things happening in the Federation with all of you, those who are in St. Kitts and Nevis, those in the wider world, those listening wherever you are listening. We're always happy to be here. We're always happy that we can share with you. So I want to, at the top of the show, as we usually do, say a special welcome to those who are listening in the far corners of the world. We have people listening as far as Taiwan, and it's 8 p.m. here in St. Kitts and Nevis, so it should be around 8 a.m. or thereabouts. So we want to thank you for, of course, waking up with us. Those a little closer to us in Europe, in England and France, and wherever you are, wherever we have St. Kitts and Nevis citizens and residents and lovers of St. Kitts and Nevis living who tune in to this show to get a little taste for what's happening on the home front. We welcome you in. We know that it's like the middle of the night, and you know, we have quite a lot of people who stay up until after midnight in England and so on to listen to On The Mark. I know many times I'm here on the show, and when the show is finished, I'll get a WhatsApp or a text message, or I'll get a call, and the call would be saying, yes, you know, we were up listening to the show. And I always want to encourage our friends, you know, wherever you are in England, to call in and even say a little good night, even if you don't want to add to the discourse or whatever it is that we're talking about. You know, you can definitely call in and just say, hey, good night, we're listening to On The Mark. I know a lot of you call in after the show, but it would be good for you to call in so that people can hear your voices. We know you have a lot of family here, and when you call in, they will pick up your voice and know that you're the one calling. Of course, back here in the Western Hemisphere, in the United States, in Canada, I have some really good friends in Toronto. Whenever I'm on the Mark, I'll definitely get a message from my good friends in Toronto. They listen to On The Mark religiously, and if they don't hear me for a few weeks, they're gonna send me a WhatsApp and say, well, Troy, what happened to you? You need to go in and On The Mark. Even if Mark is there, you need to go in and say a little thing, because we like to hear you now and again. So, you know, it's always good. Of course, the Honorable Mark Brantley, the host of the show, the regular host of the show, he couldn't be with us tonight. He is on some official business, but nonetheless, we're gonna have a good time tonight, as we normally do. And so both him and Eric Evelyn, they are unavailable tonight. So, you know, we're here, we're gonna have a good time. Of course, back in the Caribbean, I want to welcome in all of our good friends from Puerto Rico, the United States Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, from Anguilla, from Antigua, wherever you are. We want to welcome you from St. Martin, from in the Windward Islands, Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, wherever you're listening, as far south as Guyana, our good friends in Trinidad and Tobago, in Barbados, wherever you are. Welcome to this week's edition of On The Mark. We're happy to have you. We're hoping that tonight we'll get at least 1 or 2 new callers. I have some guests with me, as I said, and we are going to definitely be having a discussion and sharing some information that I think will be pertinent to the public. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about what's been happening in the ministry that I'm charged with. I know On The Mark is normally a political show. We like to call in and talk the raw politics, but sometimes we can use the show to bring some information to let people know exactly what's going on in the island. I want to do a little bit of that tonight. Of course, at the top of the show, we always say birthday shout outs and so on to persons who we know celebrating, and so I want to send big birthday shout outs to those who are celebrating birthdays, if you're celebrating anniversaries, whatever the occasion. of course, we want to shout you out. For those students who are going to be doing overseas exams, because I know this is a time that students are getting ready to start overseas exams, the CXC CSEC exams and the CAPE exams. I want to wish you all the very best. You still have some time to hunker down and study and get the last few things that you haven't gotten down 100% yet. You still have some time to sit down and go through and ensure that you are ready for those exams. And so I want to wish all of our students who will be sitting exams shortly the very best. We have a very high standard when it comes to overseas exams here on the island of Nevis, and I trust and hope that this year the students will follow in the pattern of students who have gone before, and hopefully this year we can have even better results than we have had in the past. So those students, I want to send a special shout out to them. Also, this is the month of May, and I love the month of May. For me, the month of May is the best month. I won't say any more on that topic. Of course, when persons are celebrating, we also have people who, they're feeling loss, and they would have lost a loved one or somebody who's a close friend, and so we want to take the time to also send a big shout out. I know today was the funeral for Adrian Lamb over on St. Kitts, and Adrian is somebody who is known throughout the Federation, especially if you're involved in music, anything to do with music, anything to do with the production of concerts and so on. You would know Adrian Lamb very, very well, because he was one of the movers and shakers when it came to doing music, when it came to doing the sound for things like Culturama, or if we had any big major concerts here on the island of Nevis and in the Federation as a whole, Adrian Lamb would be the go-to guy. And Adrian would have passed away some weeks ago, and the funeral would have been held today, and I believe that as we speak they're having a concert in his honor over on St. Kitts. So I personally want to send out my condolences to the family of Adrian Lamb. He was somebody who I knew very well, and he was always a really, really nice guy. Okay, we also want to send condolences to the family of Mr. Lofton George Daniel Jones, and he would have been originally from the Butlers area. We also want to send condolences to the family of Mr. Glenroy Pinney, who is formerly of Cox Village, and all the good folks in Cox who know Glenroy want to send out condolences to you. Glenroy would have, however, lived in Orlando, Florida. And a little bit more personal for me and closer to home, I want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Curlis Edwin Naviston Liburd. We call him Curly, and he is also known as Butch of Bath Village. And Curly would have passed away a few weeks ago. That would have come as a shock to me, me being the minister with responsibility for education and sports and so on. Curly was a member of the education and sports maintenance team. That is where he would have worked, and before those ministries were merged, he was a member of the social services and sports maintenance team. And I think prior to that he would have worked at Public Works and a few other places. So Curly is somebody who I knew very well and interacted with on a regular enough basis. Always a very pleasant young man. He's a bit older than me, but still a young man, and so it came as a real shocker to me when I was told that Curly had passed away. And certainly the whole of Bath Village, I know that they're in mourning for Curly, and I think the funeral service for Curly will be this coming Saturday, I'm not 100% sure about the time, or at 1 p.m. this coming Saturday, and certainly I'll try to make every effort to be there. And again, condolences to the entire family. I think this is a good time for me to introduce my two wonderful guests this evening, and I will start to my immediate right, and I want to welcome to the studios of Van Radio and to On The Mark somebody who is no stranger to the studios of Van Radio, because she has her own weekly radio show here at Van Radio on a Saturday morning. I think it starts at 9. Starts at 9 on a Saturday morning. It's Youth on the Go. So if you're not accustomed to tuning in to Van Radio on a Saturday morning, this is your cue to start tuning in, because we have a really lovely show that happens there every Saturday, or almost every Saturday, right here on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Youth on the Go. And the host of that show is none other than Miss Zanella Claxton, who is also the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, IT, et al. So, Zanella, good night.
Good night.
And welcome to On The Mark. And my next guest, to Zanella's immediate right, is somebody of equal esteem, and somebody who, of course, is no stranger to the studio here at Van Radio. He doesn't have his own show on Van Radio as yet. He doesn't have his own show as yet, but I believe somewhere in the not too distant future I can see it happening. He's somebody who is very well known all over the island of Nevis. Is somebody who is also a regular ambassador for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and certainly for Nevis. I mean, he goes away regularly on official federal duties to represent us many places all over the world in front of audiences of 50 and 60,000 people. So he's no stranger at all to people. Somebody who's a hard-working gentleman. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Jamie Claxton. So tonight is a Claxton night on The Mark, and I would add, even though I'm Liburd, I have a little bit of Claxton in me. I'm not going to go through all of that tonight here. I'm sure that everybody has one of those stories, like when you talk to your grandmother or and a great aunt or somebody who knows all of the family backstory, then they will tell you that your great grandmother was so and so, or your grandfather was so and so. So I've heard some of those stories, okay, and I have some Claxton in my stories, okay. So tonight is certainly a Claxton night here on The Mark. Jamie, you didn't get to say good night yet, so certainly time for you to come in and say good night.
So good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Honorable Liburd, and in such esteemed company as Mr. Zanella Claxton. Always good to be in the same room with you guys.
Yes, wonderful. And Zan, I'll turn it over to you to just give you a little opening statement. And of course, I guess since I ended on talking about Curly, so you could add a little bit to that, because I believe you were the one who actually called me and told me about it.
Yes, and so I want to join you in expressing condolences to the entire Ferguson Liburd extended family of our late colleague, Mr. Curly Liburd. I too have known Curly for a long time. In fact, when I returned to Nevis, he was with the social development and sports maintenance team, and I worked within that ministry. And so even after I left and came over to education, Curly would check in on me. He would Facebook message me. He would message me just to make sure I'm okay. And whenever we met, it would be a wonderful exchange, because he was always grinning and smiling. And I recall the last time he came to the office a few weeks ago, and we chit-chatted a bit, and I never expected to hear that that would have been the last exchange that we had. And so the entire team within our ministry, and I know the various colleagues with whom he has worked, we feel the loss. We know that he has made an impact within our ministry. He has done great work in ensuring that persons felt comfortable and that he looked out for others. And I think that side of him is what still stands out most for me, that he was genuine in caring about others' well-being, and, as I said, checking in on all of us. And so I want to, on behalf of the entire ministry, to join you, Minister, in saying expressing our deepest condolences to family and close friends of the late Curlis Liburd.
Okay, I also want to join the chorus in extending condolences to the family of Curlis. I've had the pleasure of growing up with Curlis. He's a few years older than me, but we grew up together in Bath, played basketball together. He tried to play football with us, but he was never as good. But one thing about him, even though he wasn't good in the sport, he always supported the team. He has the team at heart. So I want to extend condolences to the family. Like Ms. Clarkson would have said, I've been fortunate enough to witness many sides of Curlis, but the side that I remember most is the one where he always come to me with ideas of how to improve things, whether it's in the village, in the department, in the ministry. He always give it. As a matter of fact, when I got the sad news just a week or so before, he was giving me a lot of ideas of things that we should do for inter-primary and how we should go about doing these things and so forth. So when I got the news, I also got the news from Miss Claxton as well. I was shocked, and I spaced out for a bit because I couldn't believe, because our last conversation I had with him, I never anticipated that would be the last. And so again, I'm still in shock somewhat, still trying to find answers somewhat, but as I say, condolences to the family. We at the department and ministry, we're going to be here to support as best as possible.
Thank you very much. So we are now in the month of May, on the 1st of May, and May is just a wonderful month. So I mean, if you hear me saying May is just a wonderful month all night, just agree with me, because I love the month of May. I think it's the best month. So I'm so happy that today is, of course, the 1st of May. I had to make sure that all of my April bills were paid. I had to run into town today just to make sure that I got those bills paid. It's important. It's very important, at the end of the month to get your bills and so on paid. So I would encourage everybody to go and do that. But that being said, the fact that we're in the month of May means that January, February, March and April have already gone in 2024, and those months have been very active months for the Department of Education, for the Department of Sports, for the Department of Youth, for the library, and for the IT department. Those are the departments that are part of the ministry that I'm so happy to lead. And I think the first few months of the year, when it comes to the government in Nevis, I think this ministry was the most active. And I don't want to jump on any other ministry when I'm saying this, but I believe we were the most active ministry. We had quite a lot happening. This, of course, was the term for track and field, and we had quite a lot happening in the way of track and field. We had quite a lot happening in the way of cricket. We had quite a lot happening in the way of football. All of this at the youth level. We also, the month of April was youth month here on Nevis, and so we had quite a few activities being spearheaded by the Department of Youth. So I guess I'll start with a question, and anybody can chime in and jump on the question. But how do you feel about the first few months, the first quarter and the month of 2024 so far? What have been the highlights?
All right, so I think you said it. The highlight was the track and field season. Of course, we tried to balance it with many other things, and the track and field season wasn't limited to the any particular grouping, so it wasn't about the adults. We had a lot of activities happening for our schools, and so in terms of the Ministry of Education and Sports, there was both departments worked very closely together to ensure that these activities were successful. We had a very different year this year. We started off having certain planned activities, and as you're aware, we were approached by SKN Athletics and the Department of Sports and St. Kitts, and they asked us to facilitate, to host, to accommodate, to partner with them in hosting the meets that would traditionally be on St. Kitts. And so, coupled with our usual activities, we had some of those going on. And I think Mr. Claxton has a total, just about an approximation of how many track and field meets we had so far this season, with more to come.
Yes, as what I mentioned, it was a very, very active track and field season. When I counted, I think we had so far about approximately 26 meets at the Nevis Athletic Stadium.
Wow!
And I think I want to commend the government for actually having the vision to build a facility, because without that facility, I don't think we would have been in a position to accommodate all these meets. I mean, we had a number of classics hosted by the SKN Athletics. We had the Jinxing Classic as well, which was a partnership between the Department of Sports and Education, Nevis, and the Department of Sports, St. Kitts. Of course, the big one, the TDC Inter-High, which for many was one of the best in years. Of course, our baby and our grand thing, the Mini Olympics, along with all the other school sports. So the season was very, very active. It still hasn't been completed as yet, because there are a number of other activities coming up. And so, yeah.
So I want to piggyback on what you said, because you said that you thought it was a really good thing that the government made the investment in the track. Do you think we've seen any benefits in terms of the improvement in our athletes and so on with the coming of the Nevis Athletic Stadium?
Definitely. We've seen, and from since the track has been put down and been in use regularly, we've seen a steady improvement in the performances of our athletes, both for their sports and also in terms of federal competition and development in character trials and all the things. So there's a steady improvement, which I think, in addition to, I would say, good coaching, the presence of having the track here in Nevis.
And I want to jump on the good coaching, because we're also seeing the other track clubs emerging, which shows that they also see the value. The coaches see the value. When we were following the Carifta Games, they kept saying that, I think it was Barbados, that didn't have a track for this season, and in my mind I was like, that could have been us, because there was a time when we only had one track in the federation, and had the track been under repair as the one in St. Kitts is currently and not currently in use, that would have been our federation without a track for the entire season. So that is something that resonated with me, even listening and following the Carifta Games.
Definitely. I just did a count. I think the first time we used that track for interprimary, I think it was opened for interprimary in 2018.
Yes.
So that's seven years ago. And I laugh to myself, because it doesn't feel like 7 years has passed since we have had that facility. It feels like just yesterday that we were still having inter-primary championships at the park. And don't get me wrong, I loved having inter-primary championship at the park. I love the vibe of the E.T. Willett Park. E.T. Willett Park is very cozy, very, very small, and so everybody is packed right in there on top of one another. So that made for a type of atmosphere right there at E.T. Willett Park. But now being over at the Nevis Athletic Stadium, that has been dubbed the Mondo track because, of course, the surface that is on the track is made by the company Mondo. So that facility, of course, is a large facility that is, really spread out. We've moved from running on a 300-meter track to, which was a little bit unconventional. Of course, things like the 4x100 meter and the 400 meter, you have to go 100 meters first before you start doing the one lap. So it's a lap plus 100 meter. In track and field internationally, all of the running happens on a 400 meter track. So the Nevis Athletic Stadium, the track being put there, it's the first time that we had not just a synthetic track, but it was also the first time that we had a track that was 400 meters and a track that is shaped in the same way that a track would be shaped when our athletes would go internationally to run on a track. And I think for the folks who understand track and field, one of the things that the people who train in track and field, they train you for is muscle memory. So when they're training you for the 100 meter, your muscles remember every step of going through that 100 meter. And it's the same thing for the anything going around the curves and that type of thing, going around and doing the one lap. You're trained, your muscles are trained to take the curves and so on. And so muscle memory is a big part of being in track and field. And so having to use a 300-meter track like the ones that were at E.T. Willett Park and all the rest of Nevis over the years, I think we would have been at a disadvantage. So I think the fact that we now have the synthetic surface and the fact that we now have the proper size track would have been a big difference.
Yes, indeed, Minister, you would have touched on some very good points, and as I said earlier in my opening remarks, that having this facility has been a tremendous benefit to Nevis, but specifically our athletes, as you would have mentioned, when you're training, you're preparing, you want to prepare in the conditions that you're likely to experience or you're likely to participate in. And being at the ETW Park, we were always at a disadvantage because of the shape of the track, distance of the track. But now that we have this facility at the Mondo, at the Nevis Athletic Stadium, as I said, we've seen the improvement in performances of our athletes, both at the school level, in individual schools, but also in the federal and regional level. We have a lot more athletes who are now doing well on the regional scene.
And of course, behind the athletes and behind all of this is, I think, a big part of the whole first quarter was the team, the persons working logistics, getting that done.
You're reading my mind, because the next thing I was going to say is lots of people have met me all throughout the season. Lots of people have met me and they have commended me and said, Minister, the ministry is doing a wonderful job, and they have been meeting me and telling me, congratulations on a good job and so on. And I want to ask both of you to share some of the experiences that you have had in organizing things like the Jinxing Up Classic, which it's the first time that is happening over here on Nevis, and the Inter High, the first time that is happening over here on Nevis. While I would have gotten a lot of the credit along the way and a lot of the congratulations and so on, it's a good thing that I have both of you here tonight. You guys were the chief cook and bottle washer, as they would say, in actually planning and executing these events. And even though in my mind, and I think in the mind of most Nevisians, we did not think that it would be such a difficult thing to actually host the sports over here. A lot of people met me and say, oh, the sports really should come over here, and that type of that type of thing. And I had every confidence that the sports would be executed flawlessly or close to it, but there were a lot of doubts. And I know when you would have met with SKN Athletics, they had a lot of reservations, and rightfully so, because the parents and the school officials and just people, you know, all over the sister island, they were very much unsure about what to expect. So I want you guys to share with me and the general public, you know, some of the experiences that you would have had in putting together the Jinxing Up meet and the Inter-High meet. Both were very successful meets.
Okay, so I'm going to start off and then Ms. Claxton is going to help. So first of all, we understand that in order for events to be successful, the team that you assemble is very important. So first of all, from the Ministry of Education and Sport, I think we have a very good steering committee, a team that is, let's say, it's led by Nicola Fraser and Mr. Alger Newton, supported by myself and Ms. Claxton. Also part of the team is Deputy Principal Education Officer Londa Brown. We have Cordesia Walters, Liburd, and Garfield Vogel. And that's the main committee, but we also are supported by staff from the Education Department and the Department of Sport. So while there were doubts, we were very confident that with our team, we could execute anything. Minister, if you ask us to plan a concert tomorrow, we'll be able to deliver for you.
I like that.
Yeah, so we had every confidence in the team, but it was also key for us to also understand that it's an entire ecosystem of persons required, especially in these circumstances where we were now facilitating or accommodating needs from St. Kitts, and because some persons would have never worked with us, they had their doubts, they had their reservations, but I think in the long run we prove what we're capable of. We have our way of doing things, which is different to our counterparts, fortunately or unfortunately, but eventually I think we got all the stars aligned and was able to execute both the Jinxing Up Classic and the TDC Inter-High with great effect and tremendous success.
So for me, I think some of the biggest challenges came out from the public perception. They wondered about our ability to transportation and boats, and the reality is that several of the athletes from St. Kitts perhaps had never been on Nevis of they haven't commuted, they haven't done the commute previously, while it's a norm for our athletes to go back and forth, and we do it every season. Every time we jump on the boat, we get on the track. It was new to the athletes from St. Kitts, and I think that was something that brought some reservation even from the various schools. But what we did and we chose to do is to use the Jinxing Up Classics, and we are all aware. We received the information late in January. We looked at it, we wondered, and then we said, hey, we can do this. And so when we got the Jinxing Up Classics, the information for the Jinxing Up Classics, we used that to prepare for the Inter-High, to show them that, okay, this is how we're going to run it, and it gave them a bit more a sense of security. They realized that it is possible. The numbers were significantly larger than what we would normally have to work with, and so we want to commend all of the parties who ensured that that part of that process was completed effectively. We were able to transport the persons back and forth and get it done within good time, and then of course we knew that we would have to work to multiply the initial process, because Jinxing Up Classics was a total of I think 40 athletes, and the inter-school was 60, 70, somewhere around there. So we knew that we would almost have to double.
Per school.
Yes. Per school. So we knew that we would have to double efforts, and we got that done. And so we had meetings with everybody, bus drivers, we had meetings with cooks. Never before has this been done, but we had the school meals team working and cooking for the various meets. We got the menu from the teams, the preferences. We sat down, we planned out the menu for the whole season, what it would look like, so that you don't have too much repetition. And the team of cooks through our school meals program, they were stellar. They guided us We used their expertise, and I think, as Mr. Claxton stated, we understood that we do not have all of the answers, but we also understand that we have to lean on the expertise of the various persons within our team and our subcategory.
So I think it's important that the public understands the level of the undertaking. So you spoke a little bit about the cooks. Give us a little bit more insight into, what you had to do with the cooks and what they were responsible for doing and so on. The public likes details, and this is our opportunity, of course, to give the public some detail into what went on in the planning of these events. I think it's important that people understand the type of hard work that goes into having these meets. I know lots of us will show up on the day of the meet, and if the smallest thing goes wrong, we start to make a big issue out of it. So I want you to just give a little bit of detail so people can have an appreciation for the type of planning that has to go into these meets to ensure that everything is working like clockwork on the day.
All right, so we had the list of meets for the entire season, and we met with the cooks. We had a general meeting, and we explained the situation that we had these meets coming up, and we have not hosted them previously. We are looking at ensuring that the athletes were fed, they were fed on time, and then we asked, are you up for the challenge? And so they indicated their interest based on the information shared.
And these were people who volunteered?
They volunteered.
Okay.
So they're the ones
I think
who...
that's important.
Yes, we had everybody there, and then some of them indicated that they were available, and they told us which days they were available for, and then we went through the process there. We also sat down and planned out the menu. So I threw out some potential dishes, and then I gave them some insights as to, for example, you try not to give too much dairy or cheese, heavy cheese for during the season, because it can have some impact on the athletes and things like that. And so even in the processing, sometimes I would say, so should we do cheese sandwiches as a snack? And they would tell me, Miss Claxton, you already told us that there should not be any cheese. We're bringing that back. But they held us accountable based on the information given. And so they planned out the menus, like I said, based on the information that we shared. And we went from there. For the Jinxing Up Classic, they had to prepare just one meal because it was an event, that one-day event, one afternoon. However, for the Nevis High School Championship, they had to do 3 meals. So you had an 11 o'clock lunch drop, you had a 3 o'clock snack drop, and then you had a 6 o'clock snack drop. So they were preparing meals and the bus drivers were transporting as they prepared them, and we had those logistics and those schedules going as well. And so the bus drivers, just like the cooks, I must say that highest commendations to our bus drivers. When you hear of understanding the assignment, they understood the assignment, and they were able to fill in for each other. If they saw any gaps, they came in, they called, and so they were on top of things from beginning to end. When we had the last meet, which is the inter-school, of course, a significantly higher number of athletes moving. We had a certain time to get them there. I want to take this opportunity, Minister, to highlight some of our partners who came on board to help us to ensure that we got the work done. We had the Ministry of Social Development, Mr. Tavares Brown, the driver for their bus. He was with us for the entire season as long as we had interscholastic meets, inter-school meets. I want to say a loud shout out this evening to Mr. Ruel Sargent Jr. Now, when we asked Ruel about transportation, Ruel was willing to do the runs for free. We would not have to compensate aside from providing the gasoline. So we were able to do that, and I want to say highest commendations for him. And
Mr. Sargent, he runs a taxi.
He has a service. Yeah. And so he was willing to come on board. We did not ask for sponsorship. I want to make that clear. We did not ask for sponsorship. Mr. Sargent came. I explained to him what we were doing, and he was able to help us there. On the day of, we fell short. We had some shortages. Sometimes no matter how much you plan, you have to also plan for unexpected. And Mr. Sargent came in, and we were short a few buses, and he was.
I think we had some buses drop out.
Yes. We had some buses drop out, without notice.
I think it's important because the public might feel like we did not plan.
No,
we didn't have it planned properly. I mean, it was planned properly, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, a few buses dropped out, and so Mr. Sargent was willing to. He went and made the contact.
Yes,
right?
he got us 4 buses in 15
buses.
minutes.
Yes,
right, and they came and they delivered.
And so it's very important, to highlight people like these. Rural Sergeant, of course, Junior is a young man out there as an entrepreneur doing his taxi services and so on, and he was willing to really come forward and support the department, support us in what we were doing to ensure that we got all of the students and so on transported. I think it's always good when people can come forward, and not with the intention that, hey, I'm coming forward to be compensated, with the intention that they're coming forward because they want to serve the community, they want to assist. And I think people like these are always good people for us to support. And so I want to encourage the general public, if you have any little taxi work out there and so to do, and if you have any people that you want to carry, that Mr. Sargent is a good person for you to call, okay? Because people who are willing to go the extra mile and willing to come out and do things for free, not with the expectation that they're going to be paid this lot of money. There's nothing wrong with making money, of course, because when people buy their buses and so on, they have to pay for them. But for somebody to come out and say, hey, I am here, you can count on me, and when the chips are down, they go out and they bring other people and they deliver, I think that's something that is really, really commendable. So I want to commend young Royal Sergeant Junior. He used to be a teacher and so on, right? Yeah. So he understands the assignment. That's somebody who really understands what's going on. And he's a good singer too. So
he volunteers. I just
wanted to get that in there.
I want to take this opportunity to also commend our cleaning crew, who work very hard during the sports season, similar to what Ms. Clarkson would have done with the cooks and the bus drivers. We had a conversation with them, letting them know it's going to be a long season, hectic season. A number of sporting activities are going to be taking place at the Nevis Athletic Stadium, and so we had that conversation, and from the onset they were on board. They actually told me it's their job to make us look good, and I think they did a wonderful job in doing that. Of course, like the minister would have said earlier, persons will come to the meet, and if one little thing is off, they will make a lot of noise. So the cleaners, they actually created their own processes, their schedule, how they're going to go about managing the bathrooms for the meet and so forth. They presented it to us. We felt that it's something that was going to work, and it did work tremendously. We got a lot of positive feedback from the general public in terms of the cleanliness of the bathroom, the effectiveness of our workers. So I want to publicly again thank them for the work they would have done. Also the guys who clean the stadium after meet, especially on those days where we had 2 sports. Sometimes they had to come in 4 a.m. the next morning to make sure that the facility is ready for the upcoming sport or day 2 of one of the high school championships. So again, I want to really thank them for the work they would have done throughout the track and field season.
Yeah, before we move off from the cleaners and the bathrooms, I too want to commend them, because people at the sports meet, we know that the facility is not 100% built out. The most important thing is the track. We have the track. The track is, I would say, 80% of what we need. That is what we need to support our athletes. All of the other amenities, they are going to come. We don't have them yet. People like to complain to me, and one person told me at one of the sports meets, they came to me and they said, "Try, are your bathroom and them to fire, but one thing they clean. You know, and I smiled when that person, you know, they were complaining that they have to walk a long distance to get to the bathrooms, because of course when we built them they were initially meant to be temporary, but they have been serving us well. But the fact that the folks would say you have to walk far to get to them, but they are clean, you know, and I say that in our colloquial tone, and so I'm very, very happy, and I too want to commend the cleaners and of course the guys who are there who work on the track every day. I've seen them at work between the sports meets. You know, it's a whole team effort to get to this thing. So I guess PS, you could continue giving the general public a little bit more insight on the teamwork. And then
of course we had members of staff at the department who of our department in the building of education, and then Department of Sports as well, who are working, the entire ministry, who are working behind the scenes on the fine details, because the fine details make a difference. If you don't have the papers printed that need to be printed, if you don't have everything lined up and your sheets and all of those things ready for the officials, then it can't go on. In fact, if I could stop a moment to talk about the cooks, the shopping for the meat was done by staff members within the ministry, and so and trying to shop for 500 athletes and adults isn't a small feat, and distributing to the correct kitchen and so those things were being done behind the scenes, making sure that everything was in place. And one of the things that I have to make sure that, because I can't call everyone by name, no colleagues, that we appreciate you greatly, but I want to underscore the fact that at any point, and we try to encourage our members of staff, that at any point you see that there is a gap, we've missed something for some reason, there was some oversight, please fill in. And time again they proved that to be the case, where if they realized that something was off or something was wrong, they jumped in, got it done, and then they provided the updates so that we knew what we needed to pay attention to, and that helped to build us throughout the season as well.
And I want to give a simple example when it came to that. One day we were at the Department of Education having a meeting, myself, Nicola, RJ, Cardissa, Londa. The girls were downstairs printing something, trying to get something printed on a long paper. Couldn't get it printed. I came down, tried to help, couldn't get it. They couldn't get it sorted out. So I had to do something else. So RJ and Nicola took up that responsibility, and I took up the responsibility of getting paper to Zan, who I'm to be at your office, trying to. So you see how the team was working. Get them to Zan at your office, and then we don't.
That's when they ended up on my printer.
So I'm just giving an example of, like, towards Zan and said, once we recognize their gaps or things that need to be done, we quickly put up our hands, we distribute the work accordingly, and we get it done. And that's the type of teamwork that we have within this ministry.
So you spoke about feeding 500 persons, because
it's over 500.
I think it's important that people kind of understand what's
and the food was there on time.
what goes into this thing. It's certainly not easy to prepare 500 lunches and ensure that. So each different school
had their own
menu.
So the numbers.
And
we
one menu across the board.
But we had the vegan option, because some persons are vegan. You have persons who are Rastafarians and various dietary needs.
We had to respect everybody's individual dietary needs.
So we had those options, and then every school had their packagings, and each school had a liaison officer. Before I forget the liaison officers, all volunteers, led by Miss Lisa Brown. We had a whole team of liaisons. I don't have the list, so I won't call, but they know who they are, and we appreciate you. And each liaison was assigned to a school, and they remained with the school for the season. And so they would meet them, they check on them, they got them from the pier, they greeted them on the pier, they got them to the venue, they checked on them throughout. When their food came, they would interact with, we had a team of persons who received the food, distributed to the liaisons, who then got them to their schools, checked on them, they got their takeaway containers and plates and utensils. Every school, every dish had their own utensil for each dish. I mean, just down to the
And
Find it.
and the school's got 3 meals. Yes. So I'm just giving the general public, an idea of what goes into these sporting events. They're not as simple as we think. So if you feel like we're going through the nitty-gritty, it's just so that the public can have an idea of the type of work that goes into it. So 3 meals per day, and then we still had the officials.
Yes, that was a separate.
Their food was still a separate thing, and so I definitely want to commend our kitchen staff, and we pulled staff from various schools, and they volunteered. I think that's important to note that these were persons who were asked that we are going to be doing the sports meets on the weekend, and we want persons to put their hands up, and those individuals would have put their hand up and say, call on me, I am ready, and they would have gone out and executed. I think we have a caller on the line. We didn't really open the lines yet, but somebody wants to come in, so let's let them come in. It's a call-in show. Good night, you're on the mark.
Hi, Troy, how are you? Good evening.
Oh, good night. It's a good thing we open the lines.
Thanks for allowing me on. Yeah,
yes, could you speak up a little bit though? We're not hearing you so loudly.
Okay, I apologize. I'm on a mobile phone. So I wanted to thank you for hosting the show for me tonight. And I want to thank Eric for hosting it for me last week. And to apologize to the public, because even though I know you guys do an excellent job, I don't like to miss the show, as you know. It was unavoidable. I want to say to the public, however, that I had led a delegation to Tenerife in Spain last week. A very successful engagement with a large group of affluent African Americans, and we feel that it will yield significant benefits for the people of Nevis. One of the things that we are trying to do, Troy, is to get access to more African Americans coming to the island. We have quite a robust tourism sector, but it is we don't have enough persons for that demographic. And there are, of course, a lot of wealthy African Americans all along the seaboard of the United States. So this was a golden opportunity where Nevis was showcased in front of some 650 very affluent African Americans. So I just wanted to report on that, to say that went exceedingly well. And I want to thank the NTA, the Nevis Tourism Authority. They actually took a band with us, and they really, rocked the place in Tenerife with Ivy Band, led by Mark Willis. So I just wanted the public to know that I missed being on the show, but I think I had important business. And then tonight we had some critical meetings on the and I'm only now getting over. So I'm literally driving home while I'm calling. So I just wanted that to be known. Troy, however, I want to make an appeal tonight. I witnessed something that is a matter that is of some concern to me, and I want to appeal to the public. We have spent millions of dollars on building an IAAF certified Mondo track facility, and in the middle of that facility we have a certified football pitch as well. I passed there by the Mondo track 2 days ago, and I could not see the grass for the number of sheep and goats that were inside the venue. I mean, they were actually on the football pitch, they were on the track, they were all over. And I just want to appeal to our people. We have created a facility that we want to be available to everybody. So we have not padlocked it, we have not locked it up when it's starting new. We have left the gate open, meaning unlocked, so that the public can go there to exercise and to enjoy the facility, because after all, it's our facility and it's built for the enjoyment of the public. But I'm begging members of the public, when they use the facility, please close the gate. It can't be too much try to ask people to close the gate.
Certainly not.
And I'm also calling on the farmers in the area to control their animals. When I went there, the gates were wide open and the animals were just walking in. And of course, when they go in, they create havoc in terms of the field, the track itself, and all of that. So, for me, it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of our national pride. And a lot of people say they love Nevis and Nevis nice, and they say all of these things. But do they act in a way that really shows that they love Nevis and that they think Nevis is nice? I believe that we could do better. And simple things. If you're going to the Mondo track, you're going to take your evening walk or your morning exercise, close the gate after you. That's all we're asking. Because if that doesn't happen, the government will be forced to padlock the gate. And nobody would want that, because the whole idea behind it is that the facilities are available to the public. But what I saw there really was disheartening for me, because it keeps happening where these animals are allowed to invade the facility. The farmers in their area, they don't seem to be paying attention, and people who use the facility don't close the gate. So I'm appealing to the farmers, control their animals, and I'm appealing to the public that uses the facility to close the gate after they've used the facility. So it's for me, as I said, a matter of national pride. It's a matter of Nivision pride. And I know how proud I feel when I see that facility in use. When I go to the inter-primary, I see what we've been able to create in Nevis for the benefit of our people. Let us not squander these things. Let us really try our very best to protect what we have and what we've worked so hard to create. So I just want to try to make that appeal. I know that the On the Mark show has a large audience, and if people don't hear it personally, I would hope that some people tell somebody they heard me calling and plead with people. Treat our facilities with respect so that they can inure to the benefit of those who are here and those who are to come. If we say we love Nevis, let us start to act as if we love Nevis. So I wanted to get that off my chest and get that out here. And I know you as Minister of Sport, you share those views, because
Definitely.
you're the person I called when I saw it, and I thank you because you had the situation remedied quickly, but it should not have happened. And it's happening too often because of the irresponsible farmers and because of irresponsible people using the venue and leaving the gate open. So I'm making that appeal, Troy, and I hope that the public will see for what it is, really, an effort to preserve the good things that we have done and these facilities that have cost us so much money to put in place. So I just wanted to say that and to thank you again for hosting the show for me tonight. It is always good to know I have capable and competent people to step in at a moment's notice when I'm not available. So thanks for taking the call. Thanks for opening the line so that I could call. and thanks a million again for everything. So good night to everyone, all those who are listening.
Thanks for the call, Premier, and definitely that needed to be said. I knew when you called me about the same situation, you sounded so downhearted about it, and I certainly don't like the situation. Of course, we have the facility, and the director of sports, who's the person who's in charge of the facility, is here, and I know we've had several conversations about it, and we have gone over it time and time again, because we do not want to padlock the facility. We have it there. We have persons who go there in the early mornings and they walk. We have people who go there in the afternoon and they take a little jog. We have persons who are there in the evening. Even tonight, when I was on my way here, I drove down that way. Since we've built that road over there that connects Brown Hill, from Prospect into Brown Hill, that is sometimes my road of choice, because I like to pass by the Mondo facility from time to time and see it in use. And even this evening when I was coming here, all the lights were on, and we had I think it's a bat football team or some youths and so on the field practicing football tonight. The facility is there. It's there for the use of the general public, but we ask that when you're using the facility, you use the facility responsibly. I think all of the small gates, we've put signs on them to say, keep the gate closed. They all have a latch on them. Once you come in, you close the latch, and the animals won't get in once you do that. We have too many people who they just walk inside the facility, they leave the gate open, and as soon as you leave the gate open, all the sheep come in. And it's a situation that we would not want to have happen, because the sheep come in and they leave all the mess, and so somebody has to clean it up. So I'm asking that if you're going to use the facility, treat the facility with respect and with care, and be your brother's keeper, because somebody is going to have to come to clean up after you. So I think that, of course, is very, very important. We were here talking earlier about highlighting the good things that all of the persons, our volunteers, our cooks, our cleaners, all the bus drivers, our volunteers, we don't do the things that we do without people contributing. And so while we have persons contributing in a positive way, we also have people who come in there, and maybe it's not willful, maybe it's just negligence, So what I'm asking is for persons to be mindful. If you're going to be using the facility, of course you're welcome to come and use the facility, but just be mindful. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark, and of course we're now on the 9 o'clock hour. We're an hour into the show, and this show, of course, is a call-in show. Of course, Mark Brantley himself just called in to remind us that it's a call-in show, and the numbers to call are 869-469-1616 or 869-469-1700. So as we continue with our conversation with Permanent Secretary Claxton and Director Claxton, I will leave the lines open so that if anybody wants to call in, they can call in. But we will continue to speak about the first 4 months of the year so far. Now that we're in the 5th month, which is the best month, we continue to talk about the first 4 months. And before we get off of all these sporting activities, well, not sporting activities, but the track and field. So we were talking about the experiences of hosting the Jigsaw Classic and the Inter High. So I want some final takes on how you thought that went. And I've been asked the question many times. So do you think that after this, that we are going to be hosting the show, maybe hosting those meets maybe every other year? I was here on Government at Work last week Thursday, and that was one of the questions that I was asked. Do you think that we should be hosting these events every other year or something like that? What are your thoughts on both of you?
I would say that the meets were successful. I think as organizers, you tend to look at the areas for improvement more than anything else. So while the public sees the finished product, you start looking at where can we improve. And so we saw areas in which we could improve, but the reality is that we accomplished a great feat in a short amount of time, and we have to give highest commendations for that once again. In relation to whether or not it will be hosted every other year or what the timeline would be, of course we are not the hosts and organizers of some of the meets, and so that's a conversation that we are open to. We have proven that we can successfully navigate them and effectively execute with more time. I know that we will be able to exceed expectations even more, and so that is something that we are open to. We're open to the discussion and the conversation, and that will be up to the event organizers.
That's a real diplomatic answer. the next time somebody asks me that same question, that's the answer that I'm going to give. So you heard it here on the mark from the Permanent Secretary. That's a very diplomatic answer. And what are your thoughts, Jamie?
I also thought that we did a wonderful job in hosting the meet. The meets were very successful. Of course, we have our matrices that we measure our success by. So we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, we know the areas that we need to improve in. One of the things that really impressed me coming from hosting this meet is that our counterparts are now adopting some of the methodologies and policies and strategies that we utilize in collaborating with them, and we've seen it like with the liaisons. I'll give a perfect example. Now utilizing liaison officers for the schools and so forth, something that was never done before. It's something that we do, and they see us as an organization, as an entity who have a lot of best practices that they could adopt as well. So that was one of the great things coming out of hosting these meets for me, that we are leaders in terms of event management.
So we would have shared a lot, and we would have learned a lot from the experiences. And how were the experiences of working with? I think the first meet was an department to department,
Yes.
Department of Sports Syndicate, Department of Sports Nevis, sort of relationship. And then the other one, the big one, was SKN Athletics. So how was the and I think another question that was posed to me was us getting a athletics association for Nevis and so on. I'm not gonna throw that question at you because of course that would be an NGO, that would be a non-governmental organization for the folks in Nevis who are big on sports. And I think I heard it said earlier that we have some new track clubs and so on popping up, so these track clubs would now have to come together, to form that type of association so that we can have, those guys representing for our Nevis athletes per se, with the federal entity. But in terms of the relationship with the federal entity working on the, the inter-high, how would you say the relationship was?
I think it was a wonderful working relationship. We still collaborate even now up to today. We're on calls trying to arrange meetings and follow-ups to ensure that when we tie all the loose ends, that we know the way forward, that we know what is expected. In fact, the call I received today was a call of appreciation. The chair of the inter-school meet called to let us know that the schools in St. Kitts were appreciative of our hospitality and the experience that they had during the season, and they went on further to say that they hope that every other meet would follow suit. And so that, I think, reinforces the point that we have been making throughout the process, that we try to be accommodating, we try to be hospitable, and we try to provide stellar service.
Okay, and so I want to rush on. I'm watching the clock a bit. I want to rush on to our own inter-primary championships, which I think we're accustomed to hosting inter-primary. Golf has been with us for 30 years, so inter-primary is at least 40 years old then. So we've been hosting it for a long time, most of the time at E.T. Willett Park, of course, running on grass. And from 2018 we have been hosting at the Nevis Athletic Stadium, and of course we've had a few changes in terms of our regular primary school sports meets here on Nevis, in that post-COVID most of our school sports meets have been hosted at the Nevis Athletic Stadium. Nevis is very small. You can drive anywhere in Nevis in less than a half an hour, and so I think during COVID we took the decision out of necessity. We wanted to bring athletics back. We wanted our students, because sports is not just for the sake of sports. Sports also help with the mental, for our children, mental health and that type of thing. And we realized that during COVID, so many persons were locked down, and it was affecting people in many different ways. And so we wanted to bring sports back in Nevis, and at the time the task force at the time would not allow us to have sports at all of the different venues. They wanted us to present what was it again that we had to present? We had to present a plan of how we would safeguard everybody, and how we would, there was a word that we used to use, spacing. What was it? There was a word that we used. There was a word that was very popular for spacing back in those days. When somebody call in and tell me, please. I think at one point it was 6 feet.
Yes.
You had to stay 6 feet away from each other, and so we had to. Part of our plan was that the facility over there was spread out enough that social distancing. You see, social distancing. So we had to present a plan that included social distancing. Okay, look how easy we forget social distancing.
And that was
that was the big thing. So our plan had to be successful in social distancing, and not to drop any word on anybody or anything like that. But we were able to bring sports back in Nevis before it came back, across the federation. We were able to do sports, I think, in 2021. Was it? 2020. I think it's 2021. Yeah, we were able to have school sports in 2021, and it necessitated a move to the track. And most of our schools have now stayed with that move, and they are doing their sports meets at the track also. And it came at some significant expenses to the ministry. Of course, the ministry took on a lot of the expenses that the schools would have normally taken on. Things like we had to get all the tents and so on to cover the grounds, and things like the sound system and so on, because the track is spread out a bit more. And we continued with those things. I don't know how much longer we can, but we continued with those things
this year.
Up to this year for all of the different schools. So I think it's been quite good for the schools to have their sports at the track. So I think you can chime in and comment a bit about what the experience has been like. Oh, we have a caller. Wonderful. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd, and good evening, Miss Claxton and Mr. Claxton.
Yes, good evening. You could call me Claxton too. I'll take Claxton today.
Okay, Mr. Claxton.
I like that.
Because still are waiting. You're supposed to meet with us today, tomorrow. The meeting is still on?
Yes, the meeting is still on, and we just need to finalize our time based on our schedule. So I will communicate that with you.
Okay, and it's nice to see, as I mentioned to you, is we put you in the spotlight. So among the media, let me thank the general public for the support over this trial sports time. For them compliments of the cleaners. So we just want to thank everyone, and we continue give us the support that we need, and keep everybody smiling in choice, smiling and all.
Yes, you all do a wonderful job.
Yeah. So I would have said it earlier, but I just want to again publicly thank you guys for the work that you have been doing. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were listening earlier. Right?
Yeah, I was listening. Yeah,
that you would have told me in the past that your job is to make us look good, and you have been doing a tremendous job in that regards. I'm going to thank the public on behalf of our cleaners. They want to thank you for cooperating with them in terms of helping them to do their job and making their job easier. So on behalf of our cleaners at the Department of Sports, I want to thank the general public for their cooperation. That's good?
Okay, well, please let us know when the meeting we need to sit down and...
definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that call. That's what it's all about. I'm also reminded that quite a lot of work has been done over there by the maintenance team from the ministry, of which Curlis was a big part. The guys from the maintenance team, all across the ministry, they take care of everything. Team is led, of course, by Mr. Alex Percival, and they do wonderful work. I think the building right next to the last stand that we used as the preferred seating, we used it as where we house the NTV and the radio and all of those guys. That building was put up short notice this year, and all of the other maintenance work that goes into the facility, and they have to be balancing that with working in the schools and working in different places. So we want to send highest commendations. We have another caller. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night. Yes, good evening.
Calling to wish El Comido to me to William a happy birthday.
Yes, definitely. I should have had that information.
You should have.
Yes. So thank you very much for coming in with that.
So El Comido William, the first person from the neighbors to play Test cricket. And today is his birthday, his 21st birthday. I'm calling from overseas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. Jamie, you want to come in?
Thank you, caller, for reminding us that it's Mr. Willis' birthday, and I want to, on behalf of the ministry, give a happy birthday to Mr. El Comido Willett. I'm going to give him a call tomorrow just to wish him happy belated birthday. So,
yes, and I want to join you. Of course, the Willets are important to us, and we love having them. They don't just support cricket, they support every event, and it's always a pleasure interacting with the Willets. So, Mr. Willett, happy birthday, happy 71st birthday, and we wish you continued health and strength, and as you know, Minister and Claxton, Mr. Willett still contributes to the various schools. He still goes out and he supports and works with the students and encourages them, and he's still very, very much active.
Of course, El Comido Willett is a national treasure, of course, and since we're in May, today is the 1st of May, the best month of the year, I will not hesitate to say that he was born in a good month, and he was born in a good time of the month also. So that's another thing that we have in common. And so I certainly want to join in wishing El Comido Willett a happy birthday and wishing him the very best. I think it was last year that we had that celebration for him. I think it marked 50 years of him breaking the proverbial ceiling, a small island man making it onto the West Indies team, of course, at a very, very young and tender age. The fact that he was able to make it onto the team at that age, I think that showed the type of talent that he has, and even when he was a little bit older, I will say that the best spin ball I've ever seen was bowled by Mr. Willett when I was a youngster trying to play cricket, and of course he has been around coaching also for many years. So not only did he make his contribution in making it at the highest level, but he has been making his contribution throughout the years. We are talking about track and field here, and we know he's synonymous with Charlestown Primary School. I think it's a good time for us to maybe segue into a little bit of cricket, because we spent a long time talking about track and field. So maybe we can. Cricket, of course, is another sport that well, cricket is our biggest sport. Even though this was track and field season that has just gone, cricket season in our schools is just about coming up. But not just cricket in the schools, we play cricket, all throughout the year, and of course the ministry through the Department of Sports is a big part in contributing to cricket. We maintain all of the fields and grounds and so on around the island, and the E.T. Willett Park, which is the home of cricket, we also ensure that the park is in the best possible condition to support cricket. And so I'll let the Director of Sports come in a little bit and tell us about some of the things that have been happening when it comes to cricket.
Okay, so in terms of cricket here in Nevis, before I get into specifically what we're doing as a department, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Nevis Cricket Association on the successful completion of the Bank of Nevis Limited Championship, the Division 1 and Division 2, and also congratulations to Brownhill for winning the Division 1, which is the 40 overs competition, and New Vision Togetherness for winning the 2nd Division Championship. Congratulations to both teams. I know both teams would have been putting in a lot of work over the years. As a matter of fact, I think the reason why both teams were successful is because of the foundations that were laid 3 to 4 years ago. That we worked here. I want to single out at this point in time somebody who works with us in the Department of Sports, Mr. Wendell Micey Wallace, for the work that he continues to do in his community. Even before joining the Department of Sports, he continuously volunteered to help the cricket in his area, which is the Newcastle Viogen area. He has always been doing a lot of work, and we've seen the success in the number of players that are now being produced from that area. I know he has a new academy. I think it's called the Wendell Wallace Academy, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is sponsored partly by the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. And so they're doing a good job over there. As you know, Viogen won the last primary school championship because of the work he's putting in. New Vision Togetherness, a lot of the players came through that program. They just won the Division 1. So you could see the correlation between the work that is being put in at the foundation level and the successes. I think in Brownhill, they're also doing something similarly recently. Kezron, Tyler, Tiger, those guys are also now putting effort into developing the young cricketers in the area. So I think the blueprint is there, and I'm encouraging other communities across the island, whatever you think your sport is, come together as a community. The ministry is always there to support, as you know. The facilities are also, we'll maintain the facilities, prepare them for you, and you just have to go and execute your program. And this partnership will ensure that Nevis continue to have successful cricketers over the years. I don't know if you want to say anything, Minister, before I turn on to the next.
Certainly wonderful. I also would want to congratulate and support Micey on the good work that he has been doing, and also, you know, Tyler Martin and the guys over there at Brownhill, and I mean, I am closer to the Brownhill area, so I see these guys practicing on the regular. You would see 2 or 3 of them sometimes up on the hard court playing cricket until 10, 11 o'clock into the night, putting in that work. You know, when it comes to sports and so on, what you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you put in a lot of hard work and repetition and so on, you're going to get good results. And those guys have been out there putting in that work, and now you're seeing the fruits of that labor with them winning. Of course, over the years we've had teams like Empire and so on who are a mainstay team. They have always been doing well, and I don't want to leave out the Honorable Eric Evelyn and his team, and I wouldn't hear the end of it. So I also want to commend them, but I really want to commend the youngsters. And when I saw the picture of the Brownhill team, that's a very young team.
Yes.
Okay, that's one of the things that I noticed, that it's a very young team, a lot of teenagers and so on that team. And I think that all of the signs are there for cricket in Nevis to really, really go to the next level. Over the past years, I've noticed that at the Liburd Islands level and even at the West Indies level, when we are having these youth tournaments, the under 13 and the under 16s and the under 19s, we have a lot of young divisions who are involved in those teams, and we are just not translating when we get to the adult level. Somehow we seem to see that drop off, and so we have to ensure that we plant the proper roots, for these young people at the very at those levels, so that when they get older, they have that foundation work in. Cricket is not now just a sport of natural talent. In the past, we could get through on natural talent, and in the past, everybody played cricket. Every single neighborhood, you wake up in the morning and cricket was playing. You get home from school, you get home from church, whether you're going to church on Saturday or Sunday, you get home from church and somebody's out there playing cricket. And that was our thing that we did all the time. So we were able to develop that talent just by the amount of cricket that was being played, wind ball and whatever it was. People were playing cricket. We didn't have all these phones and television and so on. So people were outside playing cricket even under the street lights. We were outside playing cricket. So now cricket is more of a specialized sport. Everybody is not out there playing cricket. So those who are playing cricket are those who now love the sport and those who have, vested interest in the sport. That is the difference between cricket nowadays and what cricket was 20 years ago. So we have persons now with a vested interest in the cricket, and so we want to give them the proper coaching so that they can develop the proper foundation, and so that these guys can go out and now become cricketers of the highest level. And you don't have to make West Indies team now to really make it in cricket. There are so many different tournaments out there. You have 2020 tournaments, and now I think if you get on to the Leeward Islands, what they call them, they have the pro teams.
Hurricanes.
These guys can make some money on these teams. They can make a living on these teams. So I want to encourage our young people, if you have the talent, to go out and nurture that talent. And also those persons who are out there, as you said, people like Micey who are working with the young people. I think that is very, very commendable.
And I want to just jump in. I know that we stated that Brownhill won, but Brownhill also sent out congratulations to Andre Daniel. Andre is 13, and he was the top wicket taker in the tournament. They recently concluded.
in the first division tournament.
Yes. 13.
That's really a great accomplishment at that age to be such a successful bowler.
I think that is excellent. I think it's fabulous, and you know what? My good friend Ron always boasts that, and I can talk about Ron because I played cricket with Ron. Ron is a few years younger, and Ron was a good little bowler and so on. But at 13,
he's been on the island.
Yes, he's been on. I know that
19.
Certainly, and I think Ron has a star on his hand here,
Yes,
I think Ron has a star, and so this is now Ron has the opportunity to be the bowler that he wanted to be through Ron J. So Ron, I'm just putting that out there for you. I know if you're not listening, you're gonna get the clip. So certainly, I want to join everybody in congratulating Ron J. He's turning into quite the young star, and I know I don't have to tell you to keep him on the straight and narrow because I know you're going to be doing that. So definitely I think that's wonderful. And any of the other young cricketers who we have, who are showing that type of talent, showing the propensity to get wickets and so on, certainly kudos to them, and we would want to do all that we can do to support them.
Minister, and I do think that we have a talented generation of players that's coming up, and so it's just a matter of time before we have a number of them breaking through. We have a very good under 13 team and under 15 team, and so I expect good things when it comes to Nevis cricket in the future in terms of persons making it far. And as you mentioned, that no longer do you have to make the West Indies team to make a living. There are so many, there are tournaments that you could probably go to for 3 weeks and make make 2 months salary and that kind of thing. There are tournaments in the US, in Asia, Europe, and so forth. So I just want to also join in encouraging the younger players them that just to keep their head on, work hard. Hard work is the first ingredient, in my opinion, for you to be successful in this sport.
And still keeping an eye on the clock. What do we have in terms of cricket that's upcoming?
So our primary school cricket, the TDC Wanaka Mountains primary school cricket, is scheduled to start in June. So preparations have begun for that. But prior to that, we have the Republic Bank Fight for Fun cricket initiative, which is a collaboration between Cricket West Indies and the Republic Bank. But here in Nevis, it's going to be executed in terms of a collaboration between the Nevis Cricket Association and, of course, the ministry playing a role in that. It's a evolution of the previous arrangement, which was between Cricket West Indies and Scotiabank, the Kiddies Cricket. They have now readjusted it to make it more fun but still competitive in a sense, because you really want to develop the skills of the players at an early age. So that program has started. There are 3 zones in Nevis, which zone 1 is JLPS, EPPS, Ivor Walters Primary. Zone 2 is Nevis Academy, Charleston Primary, Malt Cross Preparatory. And zone 3 is St. Thomas's Primary, Viogen Primary, and St. James Primary. And so we are looking forward. There are coaches who have been assigned to work with these different schools for that particular program. And so we're looking forward to the festival and at a date to be determined. In terms of coming from us, we are also, our cricket coaches will begin going into the schools next week to do specific skill training with the students who are going to be taking part in the primary school championship. So they have been working on a program. So they're going to be going to school focusing on bowling, fielding, batting, and we want to continuously improve the primary school cricket product, and that is one of our mandates, that we have a good product. With a good product, that you have outstanding players.
So the coaches we're talking about are from the Department of Sports.
Yes.
Okay, and they're going to be going into work on the mechanics
of the school. Yes. So
yes.
We have persons like Kezwan, Archibald, Colin Archibald, we call him Kezi Kian. Is a pace bowler.
And all of these cricket coaches who we have would have played cricket at some high level.
High level, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have some players with experience.
Just giving the general public an indication
of what we have,
that the coaches who are going into the school are coaches who know what they're doing.
We have
and they will be going in groups.
Yeah, they will be going as a group. Yeah,
okay.
And working with. So as I say, we have Kian, Kezwan, we have Jaden. Jaden is attached to us. Jaden Carmichael, who would have played for the Trinidad and Tobago Night Riders in the CPL. So we have some experience and players with expertise and so forth. So we're looking forward to that. We think we're gonna have a very competitive primary school championship this year. As I said, we began planning in terms of the schedule, the marketing of the activity, the preparation of the players and all that. So really looking forward to that.
And this 5 for fun. We have a caller. Okay, let's go to the line and take the caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Oh, good night.
Yes, good night.
Mackie Trotty, I'm just.
How are you, brother?
I'm good. Doing really well.
Wonderful.
And I'm quite happy that the A1 Farms, AMP Promotions, Nevis 5-star Relay Meet is behind us. And happy in the sense that all the feedback that I got was real positive.
Definitely.
I was more surprised. Monday morning, first call I got was from a vendor. And that vendor said to me, "Sir, thank you for putting on such a meet."
you know what that means, Chas.
Yeah, exactly. Once you hear it from the vendor, things went well. But Troy, I want to really congratulate the St. John's, SL Hotspur, and Caribou Mustangs for winning the first ever 5-star Nevis Parish Relay Championship. They did an exceptional job. I also want to take a moment to really thank the organizing team, spearheaded by myself, my wife Feola, Adelvin Phillips, and Cian Leader. 4 of us came together and kind of put this idea, we pitched the idea out there, and the others bought into it, and we just developed the idea and ran with it. Now, it couldn't be possible without the parish sponsors, and I must say here that the parish sponsors came on board in a very big way. The idea was to get people from the different parishes to pool their resources and sponsor their parish. Now, we approach businesses in the St. James area. That was the first business that we approached. The Finnish Touch, Ex-Petrol, and Islander Water Sports came on board big times to sponsor the St. James Tigers. Then I had a conversation with National Bank, and National Bank didn't hesitate at all. Basically, they took the St. Thomas team, the St. Thomas Dragons, and ran with it. They said to me, "Trust, listen, we're taking the whole parish." When I talked to Denrick Liburd at the Bank of Nevis, he said, "Listen, I'm going to take the whole of St. Paul. I'm going to sponsor the St. Paul's Falcons." I went up and talked to Oscar Liburd at Hartford, and between him and the Mike at Caribou, they took the St. John's Mustang. Went and had a conversation with Sidney Newton from the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, and lo and behold, Sidney wanted the whole of Nevis because he said, "Listen, the credit union serves everybody," but he could only take St. George's because the others were taken. And so the sponsorship for the different parishes really set the tone because we were able to put all the athletes in proper running tops and jerseys. And so that gave the look that we really wanted. And you could see that from the formation of the different teams when we presented them on the athletic track on Sunday. You know, it went even further than this. So I really want to say thanks to the technicians, thanks to the Ministry of Education and Sport, you and your team, Troy, Miss Claxton and Mr. Claxton, really came through for us. The health department, the Nevis Red Cross was there, A+ Security, Curtis Morton and his team, the Department of Education, Randy Elliott supplied all of the tents. Got to really say thanks to the many sports officials, you know, all who played a part on the track on Sunday.
Mackie, I know when you do anything, you go out and you make sure you really do it good. The way you were able to get all of those sponsors and so on board. When we looked at the teams all had their uniforms and so on. So this wasn't any ordinary sports meet. You know, everything was on point with this meet, and I think the fact that the public came out and really supported it, and the level of competition was there. I think it bodes well for this meet for the future. I think it was a really good meet. Everybody who I spoke to said they enjoyed the meet. The only complaint I got was that persons told me they know that I was training to make the team. I didn't get to make the St. John's team, so that was the only little problem.
Well, St. John's team was a hard team to make. I didn't even make it myself. So.
I realize.
And you come after me, so. But before I leave, I still have to mention the meet director, Garfield Vogue. I think he did an excellent job running the meet on time. Started Kelvin Wallace. And you can't leave out Rudy and Ketui and by Nicola. She really had the place buzzing. You know, I mean, the guys in the call room, Johnson. And the cleaning staff did an excellent job as well. You know, I got to give some kudos to Shatta because she really came through with my uniforms and delivered them on time. So, you know, all in all, Carl Tyson came and he put the big screens and he allowed me to give the sponsors their due recognition. The people from that was Steve Tyson. Steve Tyson came in with the water from Nelson Spring and keep all the athletes hydrated. So all in all, I just want to say thanks to all who supported the games, and you know, for an inaugural meet, I think it went down really, really well, and this just sets the tone for next year. So try start training because you gotta, if you want to make the team, you gotta beat them. And so we got a lot of training to do. You know, I just want to say thanks to the general public as well, and thanks to all the vendors because I think they went home a lot later than they came. And that was the consensus from one of the vendors in first thing Monday morning. So thanks for the year time and allowing me to say thanks to everybody and look out for big things next year.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Mackie.
All right, guys. Take care.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. We have just about 20 minutes more, so if we have anybody else who want to call in, you have anything that you want to add to the discourse, certainly you're welcome to do so. The numbers to call 869-469-1616 or 1700. We continue with the conversation. Can we wrap up the cricket?
Yeah. So we can wrap up the cricket. So as I mentioned, we have our primary school championships coming up in June, just after exams. This year we're encouraging the general public to come out and support the cricket. We want to see crowds like we saw for the football, and so we are also making some slight adjustments in that regard based on conversations we would have had with parents last season, because they want to come out and support the children. As I said, this year is anticipated to be a very competitive tournament. There is no clear favorite at this point in time, so definitely looking forward to that.
Okay, so now that we wrapped up the football, we're going to go straight in the cricket. We're going to go straight into the football, because I think you just mentioned football, and we had some big information. Let's hold that thought for a second. We have a caller. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, good night.
I would like just to say happy birthday to Willie.
All right, brother. You have a wonderful night. You have another call? Okay, all right. So let's get into the football and the good information that we have to share with the general public.
All right, so Monday and Tuesday, I'm missing this week, we saw the launch of the FIFA Football for Schools program. Now in December, Mr. Claxton came to us with a proposal from SKNFA. Well, it's a FIFA proposal from SKNFA to launch this program here on Nevis, and we immediately signed the memorandum of understanding, and we went through the processes to get that started.
We had a good look at it to make
definitely
to make sure that it was something good for Nevis.
It was something good for us. We determined that it was something good for us. The Football for Schools program comes with training, it comes with resources, and there's an app that the coaches and teachers using can follow, and so after we signed that agreement, we were able to get access to the app. So the app is downloadable now for persons within our jurisdiction. Fast forward to Monday, we had the launch, and we had a large turnout, very participatory audience, and our coaches. We had our school coaches, we had coaches from the department, and we had some community coaches as well. The activity saw the theoretical component and the practical component, and yesterday we closed off the training with a mini festival. We had representatives, students from the various schools across the island, and let me tell you, the students, they pull out their cleats. I said, well, the teachers said, well, they have been wanting to put them on for a long time, and they were over there having fun till very late into the afternoon and learning a lot. The coaches also were able to receive their certificates, and we are eager to see a lot more football happening through the Football for Schools program.
Definitely, I think it's a wonderful program. Just to provide some background on the Football for Schools program, it came about because of a collaboration between UNESCO and FIFA, where they want to utilize the sport for the empowerment of youth and the education and development of youth. So it's not just on the field, it's very education oriented, it's very empowering, and just sitting in one of the sessions, a part of the sessions with the coaches, I was surprised to learn that how many things that you can do through football. I saw a session where the coaches had to present on various topics using football, things like leadership, stress management, teamwork, and so forth. So it's a very, how must I put it? It's a very welcome program for us here in the Federation, specifically in Nevis. I know I was a bit reserved in terms of how the coaches would have received and embraced this program, but I can tell you from what I observed, they were really into it. All of them who participated, and we have somewhat like 33 coaches participating. All of them would have downloaded the app even before me, and they told me about the lot of resources available in terms of lesson plans and so forth. They could even manipulate some of the lesson plans for other sports. So it's a very good program to have, and I think we and Nevis should be very, motivated in terms of what we can derive, the benefits that could be derived from this program long term.
And worthy of note is that we are the first Twin Island Federation where the smaller island has led the way
Yes.
in launching this Football for Schools program.
Of course, we like to lead the way here in Nevis. So, what are some of the benefits that we can expect from something like FIFA football in the schools? Because we have had our own football tournament, which has now become very popular, of course, due to the few tweaks that we would have made to the way that our tournament is done. But what are some of the differences that we can expect from this collaboration with FIFA as opposed to what we have been doing over the years?
So for one, the schools are going to have access to equipment. So I think sometime next week they should be getting a set of footballs. That's one. And then in the future, additional equipment like cones, bibs, that type of stuff. There's also access to some financial resources which could be utilized for various projects within the schools, within the ministry as a whole. So that's something I think that was one of the 10 points that we really welcome. So and they don't necessarily have to be used for total football completely, but using football to do things to like enhance the school and so forth. So the access to those resources is one of the great benefits. And also us successfully running this program could lead to us benefiting from other programs down the road, and that must be noted when it comes to FIFA. The more you do, the more you get. And so I think we're on the right path in terms of what we're doing. I know the Football for School manager who was here presenting, he was very impressed with the enthusiasm of our children and also the level. For primary school children, he saw some bright spots. That's what he also he said. The coaches in general are very knowledgeable. They just need a little push, and this program will help push them a lot of ways. So there are a lot of benefits to be gained. I think we're on the right track in terms of football for schools.
And we'll be seeing more matches because as part of the program you have the increased number of matches to display the skills learned. So that is something that we would see as a significant difference.
And then just to touch on the more matches, and as I mentioned, once we get a number of matches completed in terms of our relationship with the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association, that allows us to access even additional funding.
We have a caller on the line. Let's go to the line. Caller, you're on the mark. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, good night.
I'd like to highlight the aspect.
Could you speak up a bit, please? I'm not hearing you.
Contribution of Alfonso Bridgewater towards athletics and sports development teams. Where they are speak all night and nobody don't mention. But without which we won't have an Olympic Association function.
Certainly an oversight, and I do apologize.
And I really want to, after the second year of France starting, I know France Army from 1957, I was a coach in Croy, and he was doing studies in CBI, and every weekend he used to come and he made to talk to me in test ground. And so France was very enthusiastic about football too. He made sure he came to his ground in 1987. He came and he spent time, and then I really want to say happy birthday to fellow comedian Willet. Again, another thing that we are celebrating 400 years of British occupation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we need to do some reflection. Much of good people contribute in the past, don't get no mention. And I think it's shame on us, some of us feel like it's big in the our generation. We are riding on the backs of them who come before. I think we need a program every month to talk about that. Not only in sport, but every aspect of the development of the federation in the past 400 years. You might not remember all the names, but there are persons who contribute need to be mentioned. Give thanks.
Thank you very much, Carla. And yes, we did neglect to mention Mr. Bridgewater, who would have passed away last month and would have had an official funeral, I think earlier last week. Yeah, he would on Friday last week. He would have had an official funeral. Lots of dignitaries would have been there. I was able to view some of the funeral on the live. Had the whole military, all of the honors, the honor guard, and so on. And he certainly deserved that. Being one of the most instrumental persons in, the the local Olympic Committee. I think all of the Olympic committees in the region had, at least most of them would have had some representative who also came to the funeral. So certainly somebody who would have done yeoman service for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I think just about a few months ago they would have named the local NOC building in his honor, I think Bridgewater House. So certainly somebody who was a trailblazer and has left a lasting legacy when it comes to like Olympic sports and so on. We were talking about football, and one of the things I wanted to highlight about football is the ability that football has to help our young people, help them to get like scholarships and so on, and both on the male and female sides, because we have football, both male and female, where there are opportunities for our young footballers to get scholarships and so on. And I think for those persons out there listening, if you have a son or a daughter who has that type of talent, you can get them into one of the programs. I know here at Nevis, the BAT, whole makeup, the BAT United football team, and their makeup, they have teams from I think the under 13 going all the way up. And recently we were able to see some young players from the whole BAT makeup get some scholarships and so on to study at various universities in the United States. So I think that is also one of the positives that we can take from football.
Yeah, indeed, Honorable Minister. Football is now opening up a lot of avenues for persons to pursue their studies. Previously, what we recognize over the last 5 to 10 years is that the United States is now looking to the Caribbean for talent when it comes to football. College football has become a big thing. It's more competitive, so everybody is looking to build the best team possible. And St. Kitts Nevis is one of those markets that they're looking for talent in. I know, as you mentioned, we had some players who would have committed to college recently, and I just want to name a few: Omarion Bartlett, Kinesi Dorset, Jamal Lewis, Trevon Dunrod on the male side, and on the female side, Camilla Daniel and Kalia Joseph. And so, as you mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities in football, and based on the programs that we are having now, and also programs like Bath United program, we are preparing athletes to exploit those opportunities and take advantage of them.
And of course, you have the opportunities as officials,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's a lucrative market as well. And so everyone might not be able to play for college football, but there are opportunities as officials, and we have quite a few FIFA officials here on Nevis as well. So that's an avenue that can be tapped into by our persons who are interested in football or who are our players, our current players.
Definitely.
We're gonna have to come back and do the show again, because we have just about 7 or 8 minutes left. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to On the Mark. Of course, I'm Troy Liburd, and I have been here with Zanella Claxton and Jamia Claxton all evening, and we spent the better part of 2 hours where we spoke about all of the things that have been happening in terms of sports. We started on track and field, cricket, and of course the whirlwind of our first 4 months that we have had so far in terms of sports. But when I came here this evening, I fully expected that we would be talking a lot of education also, and a lot of things, and a lot of things for youth.
Yeah.
But we have now expired most of the time, and we basically spent the whole night on sports. I think it was important. Sports is a big part of education. Sports is a big part of our life, and all of these things they tie into to one another. And of course, I know we can come back and talk about all of the things that are happening, in terms of education per se. I would like to, since we're just coming out of Youth Month, though, I would like to highlight a few of the things that happened during Youth Month. Just quickly, in the next 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Youth Month, of course, as you know, Mr. Clarkson is currently overseeing the Department of Youth as well, and so we had Youth Month and we had the opening activities. I missed a bit of it because I was off island. I know that we had that hallmark walk. That I think the moonlight walk, that I think is something that our young people need to be able to do, just like you said, not staying in their phones, but being able to interact in a way that doesn't include technology and bring that physical activity. They also had the poetry writing competition, so you can give an update on that as well.
Poetry writing competition was part of the Youth Month activities. We had a total of 19 submissions.
Wow.
First of all, we want to also thank the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis for coming on board as a sponsor for that activity. And so we had 7 young adults, 4 high school students and 8 primary school students. So I think that was very good in terms of the poetry writing competition. The prize giving ceremony is next week Thursday at the Malcolm Gishard Park. So that's where we'll notify or announce who the winners are.
And what was the topic that we were writing on?
So the focus this year, because it's Culturama 50, the topic revolved around celebration of Culturama 50.
Yes, so they use the actual theme of celebrating culture, embracing history. It's Culturama 50.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. And did any of you get to see the launch of Culturama 50 last week Friday?
I saw highlights. Highlights.
You watched it on the live.
But we got a lot of good. I heard a lot of good reviews. It was one of the best launches we've had in recent times. So kudos to the organizers.
Okay, so we have just about 5 minutes more. So anything else that any of you want to?
Well, I guess we could remind the public of some of the upcoming dates, very important dates. We have the prospective teachers course coming up, and we also have the summer job attachment program coming up. And so the application process is currently open for both. I'll deal with the prospective teachers, and I'll let Mr. Claxton do the summer job attachment. So the application process starts on next Monday, and it's going to run, or Tuesday, and it's going to run until May 24th. That's for the prospective teachers course. So persons interested in teaching, please make sure you have the minimum requirements. You must have CSEC English, Math, a social science such as social studies, history or geography, a science such as agricultural science or one of the physical sciences, chemistry, physics, biology, integrated science, and then any other subject, and that's the minimum requirement. So if you don't have those subjects,
so go over that minimum requirement.
English, CSEC. Some persons have that CXC basic from years ago. That wouldn't count. It would have to be a CSEC general. English and Math, and that's a grade 1, 2, or 3. We also should have a science, a social science, and any other subjects, so minimum 5 subjects. And application, the deadline is the May 24th. You have to have that, and the course runs from June 17th through 28th.
Okay. In relation to the summer job attachment program, registration is currently open and closes on May 24th. You can get the application forms at the Department of Youth, which is located upstairs Reliable Motors. That's where the Department of Youth is located. So also, this program is for school leavers, please, school leavers. Because now persons have been reaching out to us, persons who are older than me, try. So they can take the program. So it's for school leavers. It's a program that is geared towards preparing school leavers. It's been celebrated. It's been executed under the theme.
It's called Ready.
Ready. It's called Ready.
Ready is the caption.
Roadmap to empowering and developing you.
Yes.
Roadmap to empowering and developing you. So that's the theme under which we are running the program this year. Minister, I also want to take this opportunity to encourage the private sector to partner with us. We are looking partners in terms of when we want to place the prospective workers. Without you, we kind of got. It is important for our young people to get real life experience, working in the work environment. And so,
when people looking for a job, sometimes people ask for experience, and having that job attachment can give the youngsters some experience, so they can put that on the resume and say, I worked at such and such a place for the summer.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's very important, and we also appealing to our sister ministries and departments to also work with us. I know over the years we've had persons like, for example, interested in nursing, in the health and so forth, and sometimes we have a struggle getting them placed. So I'm pleading and begging that if you want to know more about the program, you can contact us in terms of the private sector and our sister departments and ministries. Contact us at 469-5521 extension 6710 or 6711. Let us have a conversation. You could hold the key to developing some of the country's great future leaders.
Wonderful. And one thing about this show, it starts on time and it always ends on time. So we're just hitting the 10 o'clock hour. The band is already striking up. So I'll let you say good night to the general public.
Good night, everyone, and please remember to continue to support our students, our young people across the island as we work together to develop them.
I also want to say good night, and it was a pleasure being here, and also keep looking out for the programs of the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, etc., and we encourage you to continue to support our young people.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. That's our show for tonight. If you didn't catch us tonight, the show will be replayed tomorrow at 1 p.m. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company.